All right, welcome everyone to the Green Room office for week 3 of the Pet Photography Challenge. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Oh, Monique Renee here, photographer from Silver Paw Studio. If you missed the first 2 weeks, be sure to go back and watch them. Week 1 was all about color. Hope you had fun with that. Intentional color, remember? Week 2 was about lines and angles. Now, something you might have noticed in the final photos that I showed on those videos was that Bailey still had her leash on. Yeah? That's because I was saving all of those photos for today's video. Oh, I want to give you a few ways to remove the leash. What we're going to do is in the video on color, I use my regular Sony a7R III, if you remember. And so those are loaded up into Lightroom. And then for the lines and angles, I wanted to travel light. And so I used my phone for those. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit the leash out with the flower ones in Lightroom and Photoshop. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do that. I'm going to show you one way in Lightroom and then probably 1 or 2 ways in Photoshop. And then we're going to edit the line and angle pictures in Snapseed in my phone. Disclaimer, I did have a comment a few months ago when I did a video about using Snapseed saying that it is not a pro level, editing tool. That's fine. Not everything we do is for competition or for large prints, right? Sometimes we want to take some cute photos so that that animal can be up on the adoption page right away. Or we know we're just going to use this for Instagram, let's say. So it is totally legit to use your phone. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm giving you permission. It is totally legit to use your phone as a camera and an editor. All right? Okay. As long as we've got that clear. But I'm, of course, going to show you Lightroom and Photoshop for bigger projects, bigger pictures, things like that. You need to have all these tools in your tool belt. I'm going to show you some basics, and the challenge is I want you to try one of these. Now, you may not have Lightroom and Photoshop, but use the system that you have. And I know from talking to a lot of people that these tools are very similar in other programs like GIMP, for instance. So I want you to at least try this. Now, we're going to remove leashes today, but you can remove anything using these tools. You can remove some person wandering through the background, some stray branch, anything that you don't want. These techniques can work in a lot of ways, okay? I love that there's options that you could use on the computer and on your phone, right? Okay, let's go. Alrighty, here we are in Lightroom, and here's the pictures of Bailey in the flowers. And let's pick one we want to edit with the Lightroom tools. Let's take a look. How about this one? So we've got the leash right here, and we're going to go into Develop module. Okay, and we're going to zoom in right there. All right, now here's the tool that you use. It's right here, spot removal, or press Q. And you can make this bigger or smaller with the open and close bracket. Instead of going, let's try it. You can try to do one big piece. It did okay. Yeah. And then you can come in and refine it a little bit. Okay. Then do a little bit more here and kind of go all just up to her hair. Give it a chance to do small patches. Okay, and then I'm going to make it smaller again. And we're going to just work around her hair right there and just kind of see what it does. I always cringe a little bit. Okay, it grabs some more hair here. So if I say done and we zoom back out, that did a pretty good job. And that is with the spot removal or Q tool. So I am pretty happy with the job that Lightroom did on this photo. All right, here we are in Photoshop, and I want to show you 3 different tools that you can use within Photoshop. We've got the healing right here, spot healing, which I use a lot, or just press J. We have the patch tool, which also can be J. They are kind of similar, but different. I'll show you. And then I also use the clone stamp. There's content aware fill too, and we'll show that briefly as well. Let's just go down the list. So we've got spot healing, and you're going to come up with a little circle again. And I'm going to use the open and closed brackets to make that bigger and smaller. And actually, I want to zoom in a little bit more here. So we're going to press J again. Here we are. Now, I find that this works better in smaller increments. And if you have a long line, you might want to kind of wiggle it back and forth to show that you don't want that line, basically. So sometimes this is a good tool to just start off with, and then you can come back in with another tool. And I don't typically get too close to a new pattern. There we go. That's about as close as I want to get to Bailey's head right there. Let's zoom in a little bit. So actually Control O, let's go out. Okay, that's not bad. And you can see I got rid of the rest of that arch because I didn't want to rebuild it. Now let's zoom back in here. So that did pretty good. That was the spot heal. I'm going to skip down to clone stamp. I use clone stamp all the time, and you can change the opacities. Right now I'm going to keep it at 100 and just move this around, spacebar, and close bracket. And from here, you want to go to a spot you want to stamp, press Alt, click, and that spot's going to go over here. Okay. And that's not super ideal yet, right? But we kind of got close to her first. So I just made that a little bit bigger and click Alt over here. And I want to fill in that fence area a little bit instead. Now we're going to bring some of this down. We're just going to kind of blend this around. Then you can change the opacity, drop it to like maybe 50%, and that'll kind of blur that area there. That looks okay. Okay, let's Control O and go out. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. We're going to go in here. Here I want to show you the content aware fill. So you're going to go over to the lasso tool or press L for lasso. And we are going to just grab the area that we want. I'm not going to go into the fancy tools in here like refine edge, but around hair, try it out. So there, we've got this all selected. Right click, content aware fill. It's going to open up a new set of windows. You can see all this green is the data it wants to pull from. And here is the finished one. And that actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to say, okay, some of this is kind of layers and layers of what you want the final image to be, and Control D to deselect. And I want that to be on one layer. So I'm going to flatten that image. And then from here, we're going to go back to clone stamp, my favorite, and just kind of clean this up a little bit. We're still at 56% opacity. So let's just clean that up, make it look like a fence a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to make it real small and just do a little bit of this here. So Control O, back out, and there we go. That looks pretty decent. The last tool I want to show you is the patch tool. Patch tool works really awesome if you have like a blemish on someone's face. Sometimes, like, I don't think she has a little eye boogie. You know how cats have eye boogies? Maybe just like right here. So if we've got this patch tool, then we're just going to draw a little circle around it. And what's cool is then you move it where you want it to be. Like, we're going to kind of copy that, but then it kind of fills it in a little bit too. That worked out pretty good. Yeah. If we did that on little things like this and move it over, doesn't that look great? Yeah. So we looked at the spot healing. Yes. We looked at the clone stamp. We looked at the patch tool. And we did a little bit of that content aware fill, and that should be enough to get you started. And then you can really spend some time on the details. So I think she looks pretty good there. Okay, now you know how to edit a leash out or another object you don't want in Lightroom and Photoshop, and the tools available there. That is not a full lineup of all the tools. It's just the very basics. Start with those and tinker around, okay? Now we're gonna hop into my phone and go to Snapseed. Ooh, okay. Snapseed is a free app from Google. And I believe you can use it on Android and Apple phones, so that is awesome. So let me pull up a picture from the lines and angles video that we did, okay? So we're gonna take this first picture and we're gonna go to Tools and Healing. It looks like two little Band-Aids, Healing. Awesome. The trick to this is to zoom in. So zoom in with both fingers and you can see the little circle. And then you're just gonna like rub your finger right there and a little bit there. And the hardest part it has is right next to the fur. The rest of it should be fine. So take two fingers to move it around and then one finger to paint the red on there. So it's doing the similar thing. So this is the healing tool. It's going to take the data that it sees around and fill in. I chose a pretty good, easy picture for it to figure out with the sky right there. Let's see what it does kind of near the tree. Okay, not too bad. Some branches are kind of discombobulated. If we zoom all the way back out, hey, that did a pretty good job. I think it actually did good. This is a phone picture. This would be totally fine to share on social, okay? We're gonna press the little check mark. I'm not gonna get into the other tools that we have here on Snapseed, but I wanted to show you how easy it is to use. Let's do another photo so you just get a kind of a feel for what these pictures, what you could do on here. And you can see that the leash is going from her up behind the tree. I had Steve strategically behind the tree. So we're gonna do Tools and Healing, and we're gonna zoom way, way in, okay? That is the key to using this, zoom way in. And we have just some busy grass here, so it's doing a pretty good job at just filling in the busy grass. And instead of doing the entire leash, I'm just doing little segments. It does much, much better when you do small segments. And then you can just kind of go back over those too if you want. Like I kind of want that gone. Let's see. Now it's gonna have a hard time up in this tree. But what we can do is zoom back in, make that dot even smaller, okay? There we go. Okay, and that rebuilt that whole tree branch. There we go. Let's zoom back out. All right, I think that did a really, really good job. Let's see, let's do one of her on that dirt trail. So this line is leading up to her, and Tools, Healing. First, we'll take care of the leash, right? Yeah. Did a pretty good job there. All right. And then we're gonna get rid of Steve. What? Let's zoom back out. Let's see what it does. Okay, bye, Steve. Oh my gosh, Steve's gone. It did actually a pretty good job. All right, so that is your challenge this week, is to pick a program and then pick a method for leash removal or other kinds of things you want to remove, and try it. It's going to take some fiddling. You want to set aside some extra time for this and pick a tool that feels best for you and is best for that particular application and that, that photo. Some of these are going to get more detailed, and some you're going to just be able to go whoosh and it'll be healed. It'll be fine. I would love to see your before and after photos. Use the hashtag ProPetPhotog on Instagram and in the ProPetPhotog Facebook group. I want to see how you're doing with this. And I also want to know, is this a new skill for you? Have you learned a new tool? How hard was this? Let me know. And that is your week 3 challenge. All right. Yay. Good for you. You've made it through 3 weeks of the 10-week challenge. Okay. I will see you next week for challenge number 4. And as always, I wish you many woofs, purrs, and TREATSs. Okay. Bye, Steve.